everyone. Welcome to the 10th episode of the Honeybee Knits Podcast. Today is Wednesday, June 28th, 2017. My name is Melissa, and I'm coming to you from Springboro, Ohio, which is just north of Cincinnati. So welcome and thank you for joining me. If you're a new viewer, I hope you enjoy this podcast. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back to chat with me. I look forward to doing this. You can find me on Instagram at honey_bee_knits and on Ravelry as Melissa1308 and also in the Ravelry group, the Honeybee Knits Podcast. You can also find me on Etsy as honeybeenknitsco.etsy.com, and in my shop right now I have a few project bags. They're the same bags that they were last week because I haven't got much sewing done. I haven't gotten any sewing done this past week. So hopefully not next week, but the week after I'll have some new bags in there, including bigger sizes. This is going to be a little bit of a shorter episode. I don't have a lot to share today, but I do have an FO, so we'll go ahead and get started with that. FO today is my Changing Staircases shawl by Tristan Molina, and she is one of the two girls in the Yarn Cafe on YouTube. I have not blocked this yet, so you're not able to really see the full potential of the lace, but I'll try to get up close here. So I really love this pattern. It was a very easy pattern to knit and to remember. So basically it's knit on the, I think it's called on the bias, where you start small and then you knit, it gets longer and longer as it gets wider. So I don't know if I can kind of stretch out that lace there. I can't wait to get this blocked. I'm going to have to either wait until I'm healed, or have somebody help me with this to block it. But anyway, it turned out beautifully. If you'll remember, the yarn that I'm using, and I don't have the tag up here with me, but is by Twist Fiber Studio in the Soul Surfer colorway. And it's yarn that I picked up on the Kentucky Sheep and Fiber Festival in Lexington about a month ago. It's been a little over a month now, but I went with some friends and we all bought a skein of our yarn. 3 of us bought the same colorway, and we decided to do a knit along with each other. So as far as I know, me and Michelle, hi Michelle, have cast off. I'm not sure if the other 2 have yet, but I know that they've both started. So hopefully once we have all of these off the needles and blocked, we'll get a picture of all of them together and I can show it on the podcast. So this is mine, and it's kind of interesting because we were, 3 of us were, the 3 that had bought the same colorway went to a knit night a few weeks ago, and we were all knitting on this. And it's funny because even though they're same colorway, you can definitely tell that it's indie dyed because each of ours had different accent colors. So for example, mine is more pink than theirs are, and then theirs are more, one of them I think is more yellow and one is more green. So it's really cool, or maybe it was blue, but it's really cool how the different skeins work up. And that's just, that just goes to say that if you're ever planning on knitting a larger garment, such as a sweater, out of indie dyed yarn, you do want to make sure that you're rotating those skeins every couple of rows so that you don't have these big chunks of different color dye-lot looking skeins in your sweater. But anyway, so I knit these on my Knitter's Pride Melodies interchangeable set, and I love those. I'm not a big fan of the Knit Pro Zing sock needles, but the Knitter's Pride Melodies interchangeables I love, especially for this type of shawl knitting. They're not that pointy, so they're not going to be good for like your lace projects, but they're really good for like your worsted or fingering weight projects. So yeah, I'm really happy with this, and I can't wait to get it blocked so that I can wear it. I haven't even woven in the ends. I talked before about how I do not weave in the ends until after I block, because I am an aggressive blocker. So a lot of times I've noticed that if I weave in the ends before I block, the fabric will kind of pucker a little bit. So yeah, I'm really happy with how this turned out. I do want to knit another one. It's not going to be as soon as I thought it would be, just because I've got a lot of planned projects right now. Modifications. I did modify this a little bit. I just added an extra repeat of the stockinette and the lace section because I had enough yarn. So before I bound off, I just did an extra repeat of each, just to make it a little bit wider. So yeah, I'm really happy with this. Once I get it blocked, I'll get some pictures and get them up on Ravelry and Instagram so you can check them out. But I would definitely recommend this pattern, especially if you're a beginner shawl knitter, because it's just really easy to follow, and it's pretty basic, but it still comes out with a really nice fabric, and it makes it look like it was difficult to knit. So yeah. So I have a hoe! Yay! So I've been working, I mentioned last week that I was going to be knitting my June Desert Vista Dyeworks socks, and I just started those I think 2 days ago, and I've got one sock off the needles, and I only have today and tomorrow to get the second sock done, so I'm going to be working on that pretty much all day and all night today to try to get those done. But here's my hoe. I'll try to bring it back here. The camera's a little bit closer to me today, and I have to remember to kind of I can't reach as far, which I'll talk about this in a weekend review. If this is your first time viewing this podcast, then you won't know that I had surgery last Thursday. So I'm still a little bit sore, and like I said, I'll talk more about how I'm feeling and everything in my weekend review, but that's why the camera's so close, because I can't reach as far as I normally can. So everything's up closer. But anyway, so these are my June Desert Vista Dyeworks socks, and I am really happy with how these are turning out. So this is in her Color Accents Cherry colorway, and this is on the Zen base, which is her sparkle. I don't know if I can, yeah, there we go. If I bring it up closer to the camera, you can see the sparkle. So I love how these turned out. She has many color accent colorways, and I'm definitely going to be getting all of them, because I would love to have a collection of socks with these stripy, the stripes like this. So I have a lot of Desert Vista Dyeworks yarn. This whole shelf right here is full of Desert Vista Dyeworks yarn. And I really love working with her yarn. I will say that her yarn is a little bit of a thicker fingering, at least the Zen base is, and I don't know if I realized this, and I've knit several pairs of socks out of her yarn, but I don't know if I realized that it's so much thicker, because I have been using my vanilla sock recipe, which is I cast on 68 stitches for the cuff, and I do 20 rows of ribbing, and then I knit 60 rows along the leg. I do a standard fish lips kiss heel, and then for my foot size, I do from the heel to before I start the toe, I do 50 rows, and then I do a standard rounded toe decrease. But I have noticed that my Desert Vista Dyeworks socks are a little more baggy than my other socks. I've tried to do 64 stitches on other yarn bases. I've tried to do 64 stitches on other yarn bases, and unfortunately they're too tight. But I feel like on my July Desert Vista Dyeworks socks, I might try 64 stitches. Just because I feel like this is a heavier fingering weight, so I feel like it, I think it would be stretchy enough and would get rid of some of the bagging issues that I have with my Desert Vista Dyeworks socks. So there's that. So I'm going to work on the second sock today, and hopefully I'll have it off the needles either, probably not tonight. Hopefully I get to the heel tonight and then finish the foot and toe tomorrow so that I can get those in, because I have been participating in her monthly sock club, and so far I have 5 pairs done. This will be my 6th pair, and on the 6th pair you actually get to choose a skein of yarn from her shop, and I am dying to see if she has this the color accents in like a purple colorway. So, and I really want that, and I'm trying to be good and not buy it. So I haven't even looked, because I know if I go in there I'll just go ahead and buy it. So I really want to get this done so that I get my free skein of yarn. And also, if you knit a pair of socks January through December, so 12 pairs within a year, she dyes up a special colorway that you can't purchase for those people. So I really want that special skein of yarn this year. So anyway, there. And here's what it looks caked up, and I've got it in my little this is from Precious Knit Shop, and it's a skein cozy basically, and it just basically keeps your ball of yarn from unraveling. I don't know about you, but I wind my cakes quite loosely. So when I get to this point in the cake, typically my balls are flat and they're falling apart, and I've got yarn unraveling off the end and going everywhere. So this keeps it nice and put together. And I have 2 of these. This is the first time I've used it, and I love it so much that and this is what I'm telling myself is why, but I went out and I purchased 4 more from her on Etsy. So check out the Precious Knit Shop on Etsy, and she also has her own website where she sells them off the website as well if you're not an Etsy user. But I definitely recommend them, and I'm going to be using these from here on out, because not only do they keep them nice and tight and organized, it looks very organized and put together, it protects the yarn, and it's also adorable. It lets you do a little bit of decorating, so and I'm all for that. And I am housing that in my bag from Fate's Thread that she generously provided to me, and she also provided another bag for a giveaway, which I just sent out in the mail yesterday. For our winner contacted me for the May sock knit along, and I got that into the mail to her yesterday. So she should be receiving that shortly. But here's mine that I kept, and I love it. It's perfect for a pair of socks. And I'm using my 40-inch, which is a little ridiculous for 1 at a time socks, but I'm using my 40-inch Chiaogu circular sock needles, and these are I'm not sure if it's, I think it's a 1, but it's a 2.5 millimeter sock needle. So I haven't cast on the second sock yet, obviously. So I will be doing that today. I have a few planned projects to talk about, all of which I hope to at least have cast on by next week, which shouldn't be a problem considering I have so much time on my hands right now, which I'll talk about. So I'll start with showing you what I plan to cast on for my July Desert Vista Dyeworks. And this is Somebody's Eaten Cotton Candy. So again, one of her zombie colorways, and this one was one of her really popular ones. The skein's kind of falling apart because I've had it for a while, but yeah, so again, it's on her Zen base, so it's sparkly, and I'm really looking forward to casting those on because I really love those colors. Typically, with the Desert Vista Dyeworks yarn, I was trying to stay holiday oriented. For example, last year in July, I did a 4th of July. It wasn't a 4th of July colorway, but it had red and blue and white in it, so it was themed. And I believe that, and the reason why I stopped doing that with Desert Vista Dyeworks is because I started doing that with the Hippo for holidays. Originally, that was my intention. I'm behind on the Hippo socks, which is fine. I'll get to them. But so since I'm doing those themed. I don't want to have all holiday themed socks, and I have a lot of Vista Dyeworks sock colorways that I didn't knit last year because I was trying to stay caught up with the holidays. So, and this one, the one that I just showed, being one of them that I really wanted to knit up for a while, I just haven't done it yet. So, I decided July is the time. This year I've been a really selfish knitter. I mentioned this before, but in the past I loved knitting, but I didn't really wear my knits. And something's changed this year. I love wearing my hand knit items, especially my socks. Not so much in the summer. I've rarely worn them this summer. But in the wintertime, I wear them all the time, constantly. And I don't know if it's because I started working from home more, or if it's just because the bug bit me. And I decided that I needed to start wearing some of the socks that I had. But just to give you some perspective on this, in November of last year, I only had, out of all the socks I knit, which I had knit probably over 50 pairs, I had only knit 2 pairs for myself. And one of them I knit for somebody else, but I messed up on it and I ended up keeping for myself and knitting them a different pair. So I only had 2 pairs. I think, and this is just an estimate, but I would say I'm probably up to 20 pairs for myself now. So if that tells you how many pairs of socks that I've knit for myself between November and June. So in about the span of 6 or 8 months or whatever. So I'm all about the socks for myself now. And that's okay. This is the year of selfish knitting. I've already explained to a lot of people that I normally knit for Christmas that if they get a hand knit item for Christmas this year, they'll be lucky. I don't plan on pushing myself to do Christmas knitting. I really just want to knit what I want this year. I don't want to be pressured to knit for somebody else. And I want to focus on getting a lot of my whips done, which has been a goal of mine. And so far, I've only knit so at the beginning of the year, I think I had 19 whips, and I've only knit one of them, which is my doodler shawl. All of the other ones are still hanging up in bags back here. So it's still a goal of mine to get through some of those. I've just been distracted by all the new pretty yarns and new pretty patterns. Speaking of new pretty patterns, one of my other planned cast-ons is Shelby Hamden. She is, yes, that's Shelby on Instagram and Ravelry. She also owns the Blueberry Hills Soap Co. on Blueberry Hills Soaps on Etsy, as well as Sparkling Seaweed on Etsy. But she just had her grand opening of her Sparkling Seaweed shop. I would say it's been about 2 weeks now, and she had sent me one of her one-of-a-kind skeins as kind of just as a surprise. I didn't know that she was sending it to me. I ordered some of her soaps and I received some yarn. So I love that colorway. I showed it, I think, 2 podcasts ago. So if you're interested in seeing that, take a look back at that episode. But when she had her grand opening, I was debating between 2 colorways, because I've been trying to be good, and I almost got both, but I need to try to be better. But I ended up, and this is also, ties into acquisitions. So, let me back up. Not only did she open Sparkling Seaweed, she's been very busy. She also, designed a pattern called Canterlot, and I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. If I'm not, please correct me in the comments. But they are a fingerless mitts pattern, and if you haven't seen it yet, you need to go out and take a look at it because it is beautiful. It looks like it has it looks like it could be difficult because of the lace in it. However, I was reading through her pattern notes, and she said it is the pattern was designed with the beginner in mind, and that the lace is actually very simple. So if you've never knit a pair of gloves before, I would recommend you check out that pattern. But she gifted me the pattern as well, and I really want to knit them because I need some fingerless mitts for the fall. And I had purchased this skein from her and it's called Gracie. And it is on her Tasman sock base. And it's 75% merino and 25% nylon. 463 yards per 100 grams. So your typical fingering weight. But it is so soft and squishy. And it has all these beautiful speckles in it. And it's pink. Who doesn't need a pink pair of fingerless mitts? And I love these pops of blue and purple. And then there's some pops of red in there. So I'm going to cast these on this week. So far I've got my 2 planned cast-ons, my July Desert Vista Dyeworks socks, and oh, well, look at that. These would be cool contrasting colors for this. I would do that, but I have a weird thing about, for example, the Hippo for Holidays socks. When I first started knitting them, I didn't put in contrasting heels, cuffs, and toes. And I want a set of socks for the Hippo for Holidays. And then, so I just knit cuff to toe, all the same color. And then I saw people doing the contrasting heels, cuffs, and toes, like the Yarn Hoarder and all these other people. And I loved it, but I didn't switch to doing that because my first couple pairs were all the same color because I want them all to match. So the same thing with my Desert Vista Dyeworks socks. I've never done a contrasting heel, cuff, and toe with my Desert Vista Dyeworks socks, and I want them all to match, even though I'm not going to be wearing them at the same time. Maybe one day I won't be weird and I won't do that, but it's kind of like, this is just part of my anxiety a little bit. For example, like when I watch a TV show, if I've watched, for example, Grey's Anatomy, I watched the first 3 seasons of Grey's Anatomy probably 5 or 6 times, because every time a new season comes out, I wait a couple years. So I'll wait for like 2 or 3 seasons to come out, and then I will go back and start from the very beginning and watch all the seasons all the way up until the current. So I just did that I hadn't seen seasons 12 and 13 and 14. Oh, no. 11 and 12, and now 13's out there. I haven't watched it yet, but I just finished 12, so I'm okay with going and watching 13. But, so I had to start all the way from the beginning and just to watch seasons 11 and 12. I'm weird. I tell ya, it's weird. But anyway, those would be great together. So anyway, those are 2 planned cast-ons. And then also, my mom's going to be dropping by, and she might call me in the middle of this podcast because she has a work meeting, but after that she's going to be dropping by because she purchased some yarn for me. She has commissioned me to knit a pair of socks, shorty socks, for her by next Thursday. So she's going on a trip and she needs them before then, and she wants a specific pair, and they're actually for somebody else. I'm not going to say anything other than that because I don't want to give anything away if they watch, but so I will have another pair of socks that I have to start and finish before then. So hopefully I'm podcast before she leaves and takes the socks with her so that you guys can see them live on the podcast. Like, I know last week I had finished my Father's Day socks, but I wasn't able to, I showed a picture on the podcast, but I wasn't actually able to show them blocked and in all their glory on the podcast because I had already gifted them. So, that's a lot. So anyway, like I said, the Canterlot mittens leads us into acquisitions. This was my first acquisition, and I actually don't have that many this week. That's the only yarny acquisition I have to show you guys, which you guys are probably like, what? Like, who is this girl? It's because most of the stuff I bought was pre-orders, so I'm still waiting on them. And by the way, I was watching the latest episode of, I want to say what it stands for, but it's WTF Knitting. And hopefully last week when I was talking about it, I don't think I cussed, but it's possible now that I think about it that I actually said what the F stands for. I don't think I did, but I cuss at home. Me and my husband, we do cuss. We know when it's appropriate and when it's not appropriate, but sometimes because we do it at home, it slips out in our everyday language, and because we're so used to talking it at home, we don't realize it. So I'm really hoping that I never cussed on the podcast, and then when I was editing, didn't realize it, because it's just so normal. I don't know. Let me know if I've ever done that, because this is, I do want to keep it family friendly. I know there's some of you with children that watch the podcast, so and the children enjoy watching the podcast as well, so I want to make it so that they can watch. I know my niece and nephew, when they're over, they like to sit down and watch podcasts with me. And I remember, okay, this is going on a tangent, so bear with me, but I was watching the Grocery Girls, and I was binge watching them. And I think I had watched, I don't know how many episodes. I know they have a lot. But I had binge watched a lot of episodes. And it was the episode where, and they had been pretty PG for the most part. A lot of stuff that they had talked about, you would realize as an adult what they were speaking of, but they never came out and said it. So if you were a child, you wouldn't maybe not necessarily have picked up on it. So I would say PG-13. So my nephew was watching with me, and it was the episode of where, Jody was talking about, and I'm not going to say it on my podcast, obviously, but she was talking about a guy, and piercings, and that's all I'm going to say about that. And my nephew was watching, and I just immediately had to turn it off because that was a little embarrassing. He's 8. So I was like, I'm going to turn, like, my husband kind of looked over at me, and I was like, oh crap. And I turned it off real fast. But, so I know there's my mom calling. I'll be right back. I'm podcasting right now. Do you want to say hi or no? Sure. Okay, hang on. Okay, say hi.
Hello.
Okay. Okay, so that was my mom, and she's gonna come over and drop off that yarn in a little bit after her work stuff. So, and I think I just talked her into bringing me food too, even though I don't need food. I'm not hungry right now. Okay, so it's noon. I'm not ready for lunch, obviously, and she's not gonna be done for a few hours, but my husband is at work today, and he's going to game night tonight. And we just went to he went to the grocery store the day after my surgery, and then we went to Sam's Club, or not Sam's Club, Kirkland, Costco. We went to Costco yesterday. So we have food in the house. That's not a problem. It's just I haven't had to cook for myself since I've been out of surgery. My husband's been doing it. My mom's cooked for me. My friend brought me lunch yesterday. And I'm just too lazy to do it for myself. So I asked her if she would bring me some food when she's done, since she's coming over anyway. So maybe we can eat together. We can have some dinner together. But anyway, so I digress. Anyway, what was I talking about? I was talking about the Grocery Girls and my nephew and cussing. So how I got into that was I was talking about the WTF Knitting Podcast. I was watching his most recent episode, and he did a shout out to me in the beginning, so that was exciting. I made my dad watch it because my dad was visiting me on Monday when I was watching, and he thought it was pretty cool. I don't think my dad realizes, I've told him, he watches occasionally, and I've told him, you know, I've been meeting these people from all over the world, and you know, there's people that like me on the internet, and I have 400 and some followers on YouTube and almost 1,000 on Instagram, and I don't think he realizes what all that means. I am humbled, and I am relatively small compared to the Grocery Girls. I'm very small compared to them. But for me to have 400 and some people that want to watch me every week, and that want to be my friend, and I want to meet them, and I want to be their friends, it's exciting. It just turns my small little knitting group into a whole world of possibilities. So, I don't think my dad realized that until he saw the episode where he did a shout out on the WTF podcast. So it's exciting. But anyway, he had said something about last week I called him an enabler. And I don't think I realized at the time. But how, I sent him a message and I said, you're completely right. Like, who am I to use his words? Because he's always like, who am I? I love it. But anyway, I was like, who am I to call you an enabler after all the crap I show on this podcast? Not crap, but after all the acquisitions I show on this podcast. He showed maybe 2 or 3 things, and I show like 20 every podcast. So, I'm glad he called me out on that. So my next acquisition is what I was enabled, by the WTF podcast to purchase, and I did want to. I'm waiting for her to come out with a few more bags. In fact, I think I'm going to go check out today because I really love these bags. But these particular ones I had to have, of course, because why not? This is the QBS not-for-profit bags, and this is the first one I purchased, which is Harry Potter, and it's got this nice. I like the light colors on the inside. It's almost like a canvasy. Because it's easy to see what's going down in there. But this is a nice sock drawstring bag. And it's very well constructed. I was very happy with it. And then also, which I'm really excited about this, but I'm even more excited about this next one. Look at that. I love this. I love this though so much. It's a thick canvas material, and again the inside. Oh, there's a pocket inside. I didn't realize that there's a pocket inside, and it has the color, light color lining, and it's a zipper bag. And this will probably fit a 2-skein project. So yeah, I'm really excited about this. I love it so much. And I'm really happy about that. And I also purchased the Deathly Hollow stitch marker. And she sent me a couple of extra progress keepers as a as a thank you. So I really love those. And she put a nice note. If you're not familiar with her shop, she actually donates money from the purchases to cancer research. And she wrote me a nice little note that says, thank you for your order, Melissa. I donated 7 pounds and 50 cents, 7.50 pounds. I'm not sure how you convert that, but from the sale to Cancer Research UK. And she said extra stitch markers are a thank you. So I love that. It's definitely something that I think I want to do that. Maybe I know I won't be able to do all the profits because a lot of the profits that I get from, and I don't have many profits right now, but of my bag sales go back into redeveloping new ideas for example, the podcast, some of the giveaways that I've purchased, some of the purchases that I made to support other smaller businesses, as well as, for example, the pattern giveaways I do every 2 weeks, the podcast giveaways, and also I have some new stuff that I'm working on getting up into the shop. So all my profits are rolled back into growing the business, basically, is what we call it at work. So it's rolled back into mainly the podcast. So really, my bag shop I opened to help support my podcast. So yeah, hopefully I get to a point where I have more profits, and when I do, I'm definitely going to donate at least a percentage of all the sales, because I think that is an amazing way to give back to the community. I love it. Thank you for showing those bags, Levi. I'm excited to order more from her. Moving on. So I also purchased a bag from Crafty Mama Designs on Etsy, and I'll show you her business card in a second. But look at these boxes. I love this bag. It is very, very well made. And I love the forest lining on the inside. This is perfect for a pair of socks or a one skein shawl. And here's her business card. And she sent me some extra goodies. She sent me some sixlets, which I love. And she sent me, she's from Canada, and she sent me one of the maple candies that I know that Jody sends out in her bags. I am not a big fan of these, and neither is my husband, but my niece and nephew love them, so I keep these in our little treat jar, and when they ask for something sweet, they can reach in there and get those. And then she also sent me some organic cinnamon David's tea, which she said is one of her favorites. And I love David's tea. I love loose leaf tea. So I'm excited to try this out. So she sent me that bag. But this is what I ordered. But of course, she's amazing. And she sent a giveaway bag for you guys, and look at this. It's like little patchwork owls. I mean, this is adorable. And these bags are so well made. She does a lot of, you can tell that she does a lot of work on for the details to get, so for example, this is something that I don't do. She has like an extra piece of fabric over the ends of the zippers, and maybe, I don't know if that's so that the bag is more square or what, but that's really cool. I'd like to know what that's all about. But she also sent a little bag full of goodies for you guys too, and the inside of this is pink. I love pink. So I love her bags. And I think she has some on sale right now, because I was looking in her shop right before the podcast, and when I purchased this bag, I didn't look at the price. I was like, gotta have it, wanted it, so I did. And I didn't look at the price, and I just looked, and she has some bags in there for really great prices, so you guys need to go check it out. I think you're not charging enough for these, but yeah. So this will be the July giveaway bag for our sock knit along. So start thinking about what socks you want to knit for our July knit along. So I'll add, the way my giveaways work is I will do a project bag, a skein of yarn, and a little extra goodie. So for example, the June prize is a project bag from Fat Girl Sewing, a skein of yarn from West Yorkshire Spinners, and a bar of soap from Blueberry Hill Soap. So make sure you're thinking about what socks you want to knit to win this bag. And I think I might go out and purchase this bag from her today for myself, because I want it. So anyway, that's exciting. Thank you so much, Dawn, for sending that to me. And I love it. So that's, also she has these Progress Keepers, the zipper pulls on her bag. So this one was mine. And there was a pretty one on another beaded one on the owl bag that matches. She does a great job of matching all these up. Wow, all the time it takes to do that. Okay, so that's all I have for acquisitions today. I was again enabled by Levi because he mentioned, and I didn't know this, so if you saw my last episode, I did a huge Knit Picks order, and I purchased all the new colorways of the Felici sock yarn. He mentioned that some of their yarns were on sale, on clearance, on Knit Picks. So while I was watching his podcast, I went out and I bought a bunch of skeins of solid colors, which I'm actually glad I did, because, for example, this Pickle Juice colorway up here on these socks, those are actually being decommissioned. Like, it said goodbye forever or something like that. And I was really sad because my husband's a huge Seahawks fan, and that's the perfect contrasting color for Seahawks. So I bought a few skeins of all the ones that are going away. So I should have that by next week. I don't know that I'll show that though, because they're just for contrast, heels, cuffs, and toes. I also purchased, well, I won't tell you. I'll leave it as a surprise for the upcoming podcast, but let's just say there's a lot of acquisitions coming in. What else? So I guess that leads us into Ravelry group news, which is also, that's the second time I've seen that truck drive by. This is what happens when I'm at home normally about 3 days a week anyway, but I'm normally distracted because I'm working. This is what happens when you've been at home. Today is day number 3, where I've been home during a weekday and not working. And I noticed these little, like, I'm like the new neighborhood watch person. I'm like, what are they doing in their yard? I'm ridiculous. I mean, I need to focus on my knitting and stop stalking what the neighbors are doing. Oh my gosh, my neighbors were building a fence yesterday, and I was like the cranky old man because, and it's not their fault, like, go do you, like, get your fence built, absolutely. But I was like the cranky old man because every day since I've been home, I have to, like, I get really, really tired. My body's still recovering, and I take a nap at like between 2 and 5 every day. Not 2 and 5. I normally lay down about 2, and I fall asleep around 3. Like, I just play on my iPad or Instagram or whatever. And I fall asleep about 3, and then I wake up around 5 or 5:30 whenever Jason wakes me up when he's off work. But they were building a fence yesterday, and I was getting so aggravated because I couldn't sleep because it was so loud. I don't know how I'm going to survive the next week being off work. We'll see. I go back to the doctor on Monday, so we'll see. I'm supposed to be off until July 12th. My work, and I know some of you may not be interested in this, but I'm supposed to go back to work on July 12th. I'm going to see my doctor for a follow-up on July 3rd, which is Monday. And my work is screwing up my FMLA paperwork, so I've got to deal with that. I notified them that I was going out on leave, as soon as I found out what date my surgery was scheduled. And so they've known since June 12th. And they've had all the paperwork from me that they need since June 14th, because they faxed it back to them 2 days later. And I have preliminary approval, but I don't have the official approval, even though I'm out, because they just keep screwing around, and it's getting frustrating. And I've heard that they do this a lot, and it's not just me. So I was venting about it to my dad yesterday, and I think I was stressing him out because he was trying to give me all these solutions, and I didn't want to hear it. And I was like, no, Dad, no. Like, just let me be mad. Let me vent. Let me just say people aren't doing their job and be happy with that. Rant. Anyway, so Ravelry group news. Crazy. So we have our year-long sock knit along, which ends on, so June's ends on Friday, which is June 30th. So if I remember, I'll close that thread Saturday morning. There's a possibility that I might keep it open until Sunday evening or Monday morning. You might get lucky. If you want me to do that, please let me know, and I'll make a conscious decision to do that. If not, I'll just close it whenever I remember, either on Saturday morning or Sunday morning or something. So, yeah, so I will be drawing for the prize package for June next Wednesday, which I just mentioned the price for that. That's the Fat Girl Sewing Project Bag, the Blueberry Hill Soap, and the West Yorkshire yarn. And our July sock knit along starts on Saturday and goes through the end of July. The project back for that I just showed is the owl bag from Crafty Mama Designs, and I will put together the rest of the prize package and show it closer to the drawing time. Also, our Hohi Locatelli knit along ends on Friday, and same with that. If you guys need more time, let me know. If you want me to keep it open, that's fine. Just let me know what you guys need. Just send me a message on Instagram or Ravelry, or comment in the threads or this video below. Right now we only have 6 FOs in there, and I know there's been a lot of people posting their whips, so I know there's a lot of people participating. I'm hoping that you guys are gonna get your projects done in time, because I really want you to be a part of this prize package. I showed it previously. It's a project bag from Molly Klein Designs along with a skein of yarn from Mustache Yarns, also a bar of Tough Woolens, a hand lotion or knitter's balm. I think there's some stitch markers in there, so you guys don't want to miss out on this. If you guys are close to finishing those projects, push through and get them done so that you can enter them in the CRAL. Don't forget to post pictures. So let me know when you guys want me to close that. If you need, let me know how you feel about extending it. I don't want to extend it too long because I want to be fair to those of you that have already finished your projects and put them in the threads. Which, your projects look amazing, by the way. Somebody knit a boxy sweater. What? I want to knit that sweater. So, anyway, make sure you go out there and put your FOs in there for the prize giveaway. Again, I will be drawing by next Wednesday, so most likely the knit along will not extend past Wednesday. But if you need more time, let me know. I'm more than happy to extend the deadline. Also, twice a month I will be doing random draws in Ravelry for patterns. And my last draw was 2 episodes ago. So that means this week we're doing another draw. So I pull from the random threads, not any of the FO threads, but any of the other threads. I randomly pick 3 threads and pull a random number generator from those. So this week, instead of you guys picking a pattern, I'm actually going to donate 3 copies of the Canterlot pattern by Shelby Hamden. One of which she's generously donated to the podcast. So she gifted me a pattern, and she also gifted you guys a pattern. So I'm going to add to that, and I'm going to donate 2 more from myself. So I have already drawn those 3 winners. So the first one, and I will let Shelby know that you won, is Mama Fish Knits, and she is from Ontario, Canada. So congratulations. I'm going to be notifying Shelby to get you a copy of that pattern after the podcast. The next one is Handy Candy, and that's Candy from Pennsylvania. So congratulations, Candy. I will gift that from myself to you after I get this podcast uploaded. And then also the third one is JNJ697MN, which is Jessica from Minnesota. So congratulations, Jessica. Look for that to be in your Ravelry inbox today. So congratulations to all the winners. Also, I wanted to mention that Shelby is hosting a knit along for those mitts on starting July 5th. So if you are at all interested in knitting these, I'm probably not going to wait for the knit along. I'm probably just going to knit them up just because I want to have them done, and it looks like a fun palette cleanser pattern, which I kind of need right now. I don't know if you've noticed, between the shawl, the socks, and now this mitt pattern, my patterns have been pretty basic and standard, which means if I know anything about myself, that means I'm gearing up for a hard pattern. Typically, when I do a lot of basic vanilla things, it means that I'm getting ready to start craving a hard pattern. So we'll see. either something beaded or lacy. I normally do something beaded or lacy around October, so typically in the fall. So, especially the Boo Knits patterns. We'll have to see what she's coming out with this year. But anyway, so congratulations to all our winners. If you're interested in knitting that pattern, Shelby's doing the knit along starting July 5th. And I encourage you to go out and take a look at the pattern on Ravelry. I think a lot of you would appreciate having these mitts, especially for the fall coming up. They'd be perfect if you're outside, you know, at a bonfire in August or September when it's a little chilly out at night, or if your office is a little cold, that way you can still type. Type while you're working. I'm tired, guys. I'm sorry. So the next drawing for the pattern giveaway will be held on July 12th. And that's 2 podcasts from now. And also make sure if you have a podcast or you're going out on Ravelry and letting me know in the Plug Your Business and Podcast thread. Once a month I do a drawing to send a prize package to that podcast to give away. This past week it was Shelby's podcast, and she's the Defiant Knitter podcast on YouTube, and she did just announce that prize giveaway in her last episode. So if you're interested in entering for a chance to win that, make sure you go over to her YouTube channel and check out her latest video to find out how you can win. And I sent her one of my project bags, so you can actually win one of my project bags, so that's exciting. So go check it out. And then also we have a couple of coupon codes. We have a coupon code from Fate's Thread, which is FT First Year 10, which is 10% off your purchase of $20 or more, and that is good through the end of the year. And also Handmade by Zahn has Thank You 10 to receive 10% off your next order. Which leads us to Robbery Questions, and I actually have a question this week. And this question comes from Army Wife Knitting Life, which I love her Instagram. She always has the coolest pictures on there with her projects. But anyway, she is from Columbia, South Carolina, and that is Jessica. And she asks, you recently spoke about your long-term goal to move to Seattle. I love Seattle. It's a fantastic fiber-friendly area. I was wondering what other long-term bucket list type goals you have. Do you want to travel somewhere, try skydiving, learn a new language? Can't wait to hear it. I hope you have a swift recovery time. So thank you so much. That's such a lovely question. The thing about bucket list is that I haven't actually sat down with my husband and been like, okay, this is what we plan on doing with our lives. But we do have some crazy out there ideas. We're very, we're dreamers. So a lot of times we say, oh, we're going to do this, or we want to do this eventually, but we don't set time goals for ourselves. And who knows if they're actually going to happen. It's just fun to talk about and plan. But there are quite a few things that we definitely plan on doing, like the Seattle thing. We set goals for ourselves, on how to get there. So far, anything that we've sat down and talked about, we've set a goal for, we've been able to accomplish. For example, this house. When we lived in an apartment for, we moved into this house about 4 years ago. So we lived we lived in an apartment for about 5 years, our first 5 years of marriage. Different apartments. We lived in 3 different apartments over the course of 5 years. And we knew that we wanted a nice house when we moved out. At the time, we were both working full-time and we were both in school full-time, so we knew we needed something that, we know houses have upkeep, but we knew we needed something that didn't have to have a lot of renovations done just to move in. And a lot of the houses at the time, Like I said, this was about 5 years ago when we started looking. They were all foreclosures, and they all had mold issues. They had roof issues. They had water damage. And I actually, before I was a project manager with the local mortgage company, I actually worked in property preservation, and we maintained foreclosed homes. We attempted to maintain foreclosed homes. So I was very aware of the type of issues that can occur in a home that's been vacant and abandoned for a long period of time, which is very scary to put that much money into something and not know exactly what's wrong with it, because you can have an inspection, but at the end of the day there could still be underlying issues that you're not aware of. For example, we have friends that just moved in. They had an inspection done, and it turns out there's a sewer issue that nobody knew about because the old owners didn't know, because the house had been just sitting there. It was an estate sale. So it had just been sitting there. Nobody had used it. So they didn't know that when you flushed the toilet, it was going to back up in the basement. So those are the kind of things that scared us. So we looked for a long time to find a house that somebody was selling for a good price, that was still occupied or somebody had just moved out of. And we couldn't find anything that fit our needs at the time. So we actually decided to build a house. So 5 years ago, we decided to build a house. We set a year-long goal for ourselves. And it was actually about 5.5 years ago, because it took 6 months to build the house. But we ended up being able, at the age of, I'm 28, so we were 23 years old, planning to build our dream home at 23, which is, my parent, I don't know if you have been able to do that, or your parents have been able to do that, but most people don't get to do that at that age. So, so there's things like that. We got to pick out our layout and all the things in our home, at 23, and we're so happy here. We love it here. The only thing that we wish is that we had a little more yard space. At the time we didn't have dogs, and we obviously don't have kids, so we didn't think about that. So eventually we will end up moving. But this is a great investment for us. We can either sell or rent out our house when we leave. And either way, the money that we're putting into it now every month into the mortgage is going to turn into profit later on. Anyway, that's a big rant about an example of something on our bucket list. So, one thing I know for sure that we haven't started goal planning for, but that we will be doing, is a trip through Italy. Not necessarily just Italy, but Europe. I would like to take 3 or 4 weeks and just go to all the, focus on Italy, but obviously I want to go to Nice and a couple different places in France, and I would love to go to Germany and see where my family is originally from, because I'm German. We would love to go to Poland and see where Jason's family is originally from, because he's Polish. Yeah, he's Polish, I'm German. Not a good mix, but anyway. So just a lot of things like that. She asked if I want to go skydiving. I have no interest in that. My husband does. In fact, he most likely will be going this year. I think I'm gonna get him a gift to go skydiving this year. And I do want to learn a few languages. I want to learn Italian. I know a little bit of Spanish, but I'd like to learn more Spanish, just because I think, I don't really have an interest in learning Mandarin, even though I've heard that is the official business language, international language of business, other than English. I would love to go to India. I think it would be so cool, because they have some beautiful, when I think of India, I just think of art. I think of color and glitter and statues and monuments and things like that, and peace and religion, and I'm really my husband and I are very spiritual, and we're very interested in learning about other religions. So I think that would be an awesome place to visit. I want to open my own business one day. That's always been my goal. It would be great if the business that I open is centered around my hobby. But it's not, that doesn't necessarily have to be what it is. I just want to own a business. I want to work for myself. Who doesn't? But when I went through college, that I focused on project management, project planning, business, so like accounting and finance and that kind of stuff, so that I could open my own business. Originally, I wanted to open a hotel. Not like your standard huge Hilton hotel, obviously, but I just wanted to open, not even necessarily a chain, more along the lines of a bed and breakfast type or a resort type, but I don't really like the bed and breakfast feel. So, anyway, I wanted to go into hotel and restaurant management. That would be cool, but it's not something that I have to do. My husband wants to be president of the United States one day. He tells everybody that he's going to be president one day. And he started to make strides to get into politics. For example, he's the president of our HOA right now, and he does plan on becoming more involved in our community government. So it's little steps like that to get to a bigger goal. I don't know that he will ever be president, but I'm not going to say that he's not, and I'm going to support him with whatever he wants to do. So, there's that. We'd like to have kids someday. Although we've joked lately, we've been around my nephews, which are, one just turned 1 and one's a little over 2. So they're about a year apart, and they are a handful, and they're the best birth control ever. So we've talked about, we've actually, and this is getting a little more personal, but we've tried to have kids, and it's just with, there's obviously some health issues that preventing that, and at this point it's sink or swim. So in other words, pay the money for the fertility treatments or don't have kids. And we've kind of settled on an age. We said when we hit this age, if we have not conceived naturally, then we plan to adopt. I don't think that at this point in our lives, fertility treatments are not on our radar. I feel like there's kids out there that need good homes. And I don't feel the need to pay a bunch of money to bring another child into the world when there's plenty of children out there that needs homes. I have nothing against people who do that. I have a good friend who did conceive that way, and they're very happy, and I'm happy for them. But for us, I think we would rather adopt. And we joked about if we adopt, we can get past the toddler stage. So we don't have to deal with the baby and toddler. I know they're so rewarding, and I know when it's your kid, it's different. But, it's just not something that is forefront in our minds right now. It's something we definitely want, and we will most likely do in the future. But like I said, it's not anything we feel the need to do right now. I want to go to Rhinebeck. That's definitely on my bucket list. So let's talk about knitting bucket lists. I want to go to Rhinebeck. I want to go to a knitting retreat. I don't care which one. It would be awesome if I could go to one of the ones in Canada so that I could get to see some of the fun Canadian podcasters and stuff that I may not necessarily get to meet up with otherwise. I want to do... I have a goal to visit a yarn shop in every town that I visit, or every city that I visit. I know not every city has a yarn shop, but every trip that I take, I want to stop into a local yarn shop and get something from that shop. I was trying to convince my dad to do that for me. He went to Florida a few weeks ago, and he said, "What can I bring you back? I want to bring you back a souvenir." And I said, find a local knitting shop and go in and find something that has their logo on it, whether it's a business card or a needle gauge or a bag or something. And he looked, but he ran out of time, so he didn't end up doing that. But he totally would have if he had time. That's the kind of guy my dad is. So I think that one of my things on my knitting bucket list that I actually accomplished this year was knitting a sweater. I had never knit a sweater before, and I jumped head first. I would say feet first, but it was head first. I didn't know what I was doing, and I just jumped right in, and it turned out fantastic. So one thing I will say to you, that if you have something that you want to knit and you're afraid, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of your knitting. Just do it. If you screw up, rip it back and try again. That's one of the great things about knitting and crafting and crocheting, is that you can never mess up. I don't want to say you never mess up, but you can always try again. It's not the end of the world if you mess up. Yeah. So I think that's my rant for that Ravelry question. Thank you so much for the question, Jessica. I hope it answered your question, and I hope I wasn't too rambly. But if you're still with me for the knitting content, that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you are interested in hearing a weekend review, stick around. So, weekend review. So I think I'm just going to take this day by day. So last Wednesday I podcasted pretty late because I had already mentioned my crazy day that I had Wednesday during the day. It was a horrible last day of work with a bunch of unfortunate events that occurred that are really annoying. If you want to hear about that, you can go back and watch the last podcast. So Friday night, or Wednesday night, I finally got the episode uploaded around 11 p.m. It took me forever to edit and get it up online. I went to bed around midnight. I didn't have any trouble sleeping, which I was surprised that I didn't have more anxiety surrounding that. And then we got up at 5 a.m. the next morning. I was scheduled to be at the hospital at 6 and in surgery by 7:15. So we got to the hospital, checked in. It all happened pretty quick. They took me back. They gave a pager to my family to page them when I was ready for them to come back. They took me back. They got me in my gown. They got my IV on, and then I just felt like I was waiting and waiting and waiting. And they hadn't brought my family back yet. They told my family that it would be like 15-20 minutes, and it had been like 45 minutes. And it turns out that they had an emergency appendectomy come in. So my surgery got pushed back a little bit. And the longer I sat there, I was okay. The longer I sat there, the more anxious I got. And I started to have a little bit of a panic attack. And I wasn't allowed to have my anti-anxiety medication. So I was trying really hard to calm myself. And I ended up crying. And it was embarrassing. And the nurse finally brought my family back, and they gave me some oxygen to calm me down, which, who knew? I swear, when you get 100% oxygen, it is a little bit like a drug, because within 15 minutes, I was relaxed and loopy, and they had not given me any other drugs, just the oxygen. There was a lady that came in, and she says that she did a spiel about how she offers free massages to all of her patients. I didn't know who this lady was, but she gave me a massage, which was amazing. And then at the end she said, well, my name's Gloria, and she says massages by Gloria or something, and she said, I'm going to take real good care of you. When I'm not giving massages, I'm also one of the nurses behind the mask during your surgery, so I'll make sure that you're okay. So that was awesome that one of my surgery nurses came out and gave me a massage before my surgery. That was awesome. So that also relaxed me. So by the time they came to get me, I was ready. It was about 10 o'clock, maybe a little bit before 10. so they took me back into the room. The anesthesiologist came in and he said, I'm going to take real good care of you. They put a mask on my face, said take a couple deep breaths, and that's the last I remember until I woke up. I woke up in recovery, and I was there for a few minutes, going in and out. I remember being so tired, not being able to keep my eyes open, typical surgery stuff. And then the doctor came into the recovery room and said I did okay. He said that they had to do an extra incision. They were having a hard time getting to my gallbladder from underneath the liver. And they came to wheel me to my room, and I saw my family in the waiting room, and I waved, and they followed me to my room. This is probably really boring for you guys. Just stuff I'm remembering. So then when we got into the room, another one of my doctors came in and said that they ended up not having to do the liver biopsy. They said when they got in there, my liver looked good compared to what they had thought they saw in the ultrasound. So they ended up not having to do the biopsy. And then also they said there were a few complications though getting to my gallbladder, because I guess this is embarrassing, but apparently I have a big floppy liver, and my big floppy liver was hiding my gallbladder. So also they said that it took a while to get to actually start. I guess I was back there and under anesthesia for 45 minutes before they were even able to start. I don't know if that's because I wasn't asleep all the way. I'm not sure what was going on with that. But so I ended up being in surgery for about an hour and 45 minutes, I think. Whereas originally, I think I was only supposed to be in there for an hour. But anyway, so they ended up, oh, I didn't mention this, but they did end up keeping me overnight. It was originally supposed to be an outpatient procedure, and when I got there and they got me checked in, the anesthesiologist came back and explained that because of my pre-existing conditions, which I've had when I was 13, I had 1/3 of my left lung removed. And so I have decreased lung function, but because of that, they wanted to keep me overnight for monitoring, just to make sure that there was no effects of the anesthesia. I keep saying anesthesia after the surgery. So I did have to stay in the hospital overnight, which I wasn't planning on, so that kind of sucked because I didn't have anything with me other than my knitting, which thank God I had my knitting, but actually, I didn't end up knitting in the hospital. I thought I would, but I just wasn't feeling up to it. Anyway, so they did have a drain in me, which was really gross, and I couldn't look at it. I kept having to cover it up with the sheet because I didn't want to look. Anyway, so that was so when they came to take the drain out, that was the worst pain I had felt the entire day, or the entire time. And I don't know if it's because my doctor, not my doctor that did the gallbladder surgery, but the other doctor that was helping, didn't have a really good bedside manner, and I was alone. My husband hadn't got there yet because it wasn't time for visiting hours, so he was still at home getting a shower when they came in to take it out, and I didn't know what to expect, so I felt pressure and I automatically clenched down. And I don't know if you've ever clenched after surgery, but it is super painful, especially when you've had 5 incisions cut along your abdomen. So that was, just thinking about it makes me nauseous. How bad that pain was. I was at like a 2 or a 3 on the 1 to 10 scale, and when she did that, it automatically took me up to like a 6 or a 7, like instant, which is pretty crazy. So anyway, I'm getting like sympathy pains, like from remembering it. So the night in the hospital wasn't fun, but I did okay. I was up walking around a couple hours after surgery. I went to the bathroom, my husband helped me to the bathroom. I was able to eat normal. I didn't have any nausea or anything like that, which the hospital food was actually pretty good. You got to order what you wanted, and I ordered grilled chicken, roasted red potatoes, and cottage cheese. And it was delicious. And I told Jason, when I get home from the hospital, this is what I want. So when he went to the grocery store, he got stuff to make it. I'm spoiled. I'm so spoiled. My husband has been amazing. He has been doing everything around the house. We have 5 animals. So we live in a zoo. And it takes a lot of work and upkeep to keep the house nice with 5 animals. So he's been doing everything in addition to what he normally already does. So it's just, he's been making meals. He went to the grocery store. He's done errands. I dropped my phone on the floor. I couldn't bend over at the time. He got up and came over and got it. So like, he's just been an amazing, I'm so lucky to have such a great support partner. I picked a good guy. Anyway, so that's pretty much how my surgery experience went. As far as how I'm feeling now, I didn't feel like knitting the first couple days. I just kind of wanted to lay there and sleep. I was pretty sore, plus the pain meds kind of make you a little loopy. I stopped the pain meds on Saturday evening was the last time I took a pain pill. So I switched to ibuprofen on Sunday, and I took ibuprofen for Sunday and half the day on Monday, but I haven't been on any medication since then. I've been in pain, but not too terrible, and I just I'm not into taking medicine, so I'm not into taking pain meds, so I avoid it at all costs. Anyway, so I do have some soreness. My stomach is pretty bruised up. I don't know if that's normal for when they do incisions, because like I said, this is the first surgery I've had since I was 13. I wasn't expecting the bruising, and I think I told Jason, I was like, what they do, punch me in the stomach before they started? Because it looks like somebody literally just punched me or kicked me all over my stomach. I have 5 incisions. I have one on my belly button, and it kind of goes in like a moon shape all the way up to the top of my abdomen. And they pull a little bit, so that's a little uncomfortable. But I was texting with Levi today, and actually, right before I started podcasting, and he was asking how I was feeling, and I said, a lot better. I said, still sore, but the fact that I can take a shower on my own and sit up out of bed by myself is an improvement. So, I'm starting to be able to, I got my podcast set up. My husband's at work today, so I got, all my podcasting stuff set up on my own, and that's about it. I haven't been watching a lot of podcasts. I watched the WTF podcast, but other than that, I haven't watched. I watched the most recent episode of the Defiant Knitter podcast. I've been watching. See, I finished watching Twin Peaks. I only had 2 episodes left, and I finished those. I need to watch the movie now and the new episodes. And I've been watching How to Get Away with Murder. I've been watching 24 with my husband. We finished Orange is the New Black before I went into surgery. But that's about it. Yeah. I watch a lot of MeTV. If you don't know what that is, it's classic television. So I love watching MeTV, especially Saturday nights. They have Sci-Fi Saturdays, which has Star Trek, which I'm a Trekkie. They have Star Trek. They have, obviously, the Twilight Zone and Alfred Hitchcock Hour. But they also have Svengoolie, which I love. He's like a crazy weird guy that dresses up like a vampire and hosts a movie. And a lot of times I typically only watch it when they have the Godzilla movies, or the Abbott and Costello movies. Those are my favorite. But I always turn it on every Saturday if I'm home, to see what movie they're playing. I'm a little bit of a weirdo. I listen to NPR and watch MeTV, and I knit. I'm a grandma. I'm a 90-year-old trapped in a 28-year-old's body. So anyway, there's that. I think that's it. I ranted for long enough. I feel like the last half of this podcast has just been me ranting. So if you're still with me, thank you. This has turned more into a video blog than anything else. So thank you so much for joining me, and if you're not with me, you won't know I said this, but I'm sorry for the rant, or if you didn't enjoy the last half of this podcast, I'm sorry. Hopefully I'll have more knitting content for you next week. I will have more knitting content for you next week. So I'm going to sign off here, and I'm going to put some stuff away, edit the podcast, grab a snack, and knit until my mom gets here, and then she's going to bring me food. So I'm excited. And then I'll just be knitting and probably watching How to Get Away with Murder tonight. I love watching podcasts, but I go through phases between where I want to watch podcasts and when I want to watch a TV show. And right now I'm in the TV show phase. So, my windows are open today because it's a beautiful day outside. And I just realized that my neighbors probably think I'm crazy talking to myself. They can probably totally hear me because I'm loud. They're taking out the trash. This is me. This is what happens when you have nothing to do. Alright, I'll talk to you guys later next week. See you next week. Thank you for joining me. Have a good week. Bye.